Copilot for your Copilot. So we just talked about Copilot, and I actually now want to go do the thing that Christine was explaining. So I'm going to try to stay here and present on my stuff. But you know what's better than just one Copilot? Two Copilots. You know what's better than just two Copilots? That's right, all of the Copilots. So what this presentation is going to discuss is how to create a Copilot coach for your Copilot. And it could be a Copilot coach that's just for your one Copilot in an app that you like to use so you can use the proper terminology. Let's say you don't exactly know how to use Power Apps or Power Automate, but you want to, and you need the right words. Alternatively, once I get this like fixed up, I'm hoping to be able to create kind of a prompt, like a prompt Copilot for these different things, but that'll come along the way. And the reason that this works is when we talk about Copilot and all the different little Copilots, we kind of talk about them as like all these little different Copilots that are just hanging out by themselves and just doing their little things in their own little way. But the reality is that we have a Copilot that was formerly known as Bing Chat that has the ability to take on different personalities, different roles, and wander around the internet for good or for bad. And then all of these other little Copilots are kind of trapped in their bubbles. And so they can really only do what their bubbles let them do. And so we have this capability with this Copilot that's formerly known as Bing Chat to do a lot of different things that we can't with our little bubble Copilots. One thing that we can't do with our Copilot that's formerly known as Bing Chat is write IRS protest letters with a humorous tone because they took away that ability from me. But we can do a lot of other different things. And one of the biggest things we could do is create a coach for ourselves. So about time I should tell you who I am. My name is Ashley Francis, and I am a CPA tax accountant from Seattle. And you might have heard Shane mention early on before the call, I just finished tax season on Monday. And if you are not in the US, what tax season is a annual tradition among my people in the US where we spend 2 months out of the year collecting all of the tax information to try to put it into all of this reporting to send it to the government. And then we find out that they already have the information because they send us letters saying you haven't sent us everything. So I just finished that, but what else I also am? Anyway, I am also a newly minted Microsoft MVP in Power Apps or Power Automate and Microsoft 365. So it's kind of hilarious though that I am I'm an MVP in Microsoft or Power Automate because as of late 2022, I didn't actually know that Power Automate existed. I'm going to be honest with you. My biggest claim to fame when it comes to technology is being the single highest source of tech support calls consistently. So I'm not the most tech savvy, but what I am is pretty curious about stuff. And in late 2022, this technology came out called Gen AI. And what it allowed me to do was ask the same question over and over and over again. And it never made fun of me. And it never told me there were silly questions. And so using generative AI tools, I was able to go from never having heard of Power Automate to creating a flow and creating multiple flows that have helped my practice in less than a month. And to do that, I used kind of this coaching technique, and I want to teach it to you today so that you can use it as well. Because when you set it up properly, Copilot can do a lot of helpful things, even though sometimes it makes you a little crazy. So we're going to start out with the prompt framework for our Copilot coach. And if anybody doesn't know, prompting is when you're talking to the robot. And I don't know what it's called when it's talking back to you. I have a lot of words for it, but I don't think that it's probably proper. And then I'm going to show you the prompt framework the prompt that I wrote to create a Power Apps Copilot coach, because I haven't done a lot of work in Power Apps. So I thought the best thing for a presentation was to suddenly do a deep dive into a technology that I haven't worked with very much. And then we'll take some questions, and if we have time, additional extra bonus tips. So my prompting framework, I am, you are, I need. These are just the basics for any prompt that I write. I talk about this on my blog all the time, but we're going to talk about building your coach. So we're going to start with I am trying to learn, and then fill in the blank what our platform application you're trying to learn. And you want to tell it that you're a beginner, because I found even if you're not a beginner, it is so much more gentler with you. And then let it know if you do or do not understand basic programming. The next thing we need to do is create our coach. And I like to think about the 4 C's of like what I want in my coach, because you could tell it that it's a coach, but you have the option to craft like a personality that's super helpful. So the 4 C's of a good coach when I'm building these coaching prompts is courteous, concise, kind, and direct. Those are the things I like to include. So you are a coach that specializes working with beginners. You explain concepts. You use plain language and avoid technical terms. And this part I love is using numbering or bullet points and providing examples. When you include that in any of your coach prompts, your coach is so much more helpful in supporting you. And then this is a Copilot specific part of a prompt, because Copilot will say, I've answered that question before, unless you tell it that it's okay to answer the question more than once. Other Gen AI tools will answer the question a million times and tell you that you're brilliant each time you ask it. And then when you're working with a coach, you don't want somebody who just like finished their training last week. You want someone who's an expert, so you can tell Copilot it's an expert, and it will be like, oh yeah, of course I'm an expert. But you also want to be clear about where it gets its information, because it is wandering around the internet. And I don't know if you've ever been on the internet, but there are a lot of bad websites on the internet. And if you want to know what they are, just hit me up later. So tell it which websites you want it to go to, so it's getting quality information. And tell it the time frame, because it can go back to like 2000 and get you an article that is not relevant anymore. So this is the Power Apps coach that I built. I am trying to learn Power Apps. I'm a beginner and do not understand basic programming. You're a coach on Power Apps. I told it to use the Microsoft community forums and the Microsoft Learn websites. It doesn't stay in that lane, but it does direct it, and articles and posts from 2022 to 2024. And then I added something at the end, because it will just start talking unless you tell it to say just okay. It will start trying to educate you, and you don't want that. And to this particular coach, I added a help section where if I say help, I need you to help me. I need you to like give me some chunks of information. And this is what I'm hoping to build out into like a prompt creator as well, as I build onto this prompt conversation. But when you say help, it is ready and willing to help you with your problems. So we are going to do some demos, and I am not brave like Christine, so I recorded these because Gen AI just has its own. So I pasted it in, It's responding. And now I'm asking it, because I'm a tax accountant, I'm asking it to create a personal finance app for me. Oh, wait, just kidding. That's the next one. Spoiler alert. Okay, now, now I'm asking it to create a personal finance app for me, trial balance app, because one of the challenges I have is my clients sometimes don't know what their assets are. I don't know. But what I did with that second thing is I asked it to create a summary of that so that I could paste it into Power Apps Copilot and ask for it to create the app for me instead of having to come up with the words myself. So that was nice, because what I first did was I asked it, what are the most important things that I should have in this app? And I said the 5 most important things, but you could say 10 most important things. I would just not overwhelm it. 5 is great. And then I asked it to turn it into a paragraph so I could just copy and paste. There is a word limit on the Copilot and Power Apps. So make sure that if there's extra on the end, you take that out, or else you'll get an error if you have any incomplete words. And then the other thing is I try to change this to Sparky's personal finance and bar, and it will not let me change it into the name of a bar for some reason. I don't know why. But then here's the thing, it's like oh wait, no, we already did that. Let's go forward again. All right, so I actually have never really figured out how to create apps before, and so I made this app, and then I had no idea what I was looking at. I was like, great, that's great. What am I doing? So I took a screenshot of it, and I dropped that into my Copilot helper, and it is walking me through what exactly I'm looking at. And so I can have a better idea of what the words are for what the thing is that I'm looking at, which for me, like, there's a whole bunch of new words for learning any application. And that really helps me learn the vocabulary and then also learn how to work with the technology. And that is it. That's the demo. I'm hoping, because there is a Power Platform prompt library, I am hoping that I can put this, they'll let me put this prompt conversation in there so folks can snag it and create their own Copilots, their own Copilot coach to help them with, like, Power Apps or Power Automate or Power BI, all the powers, or any other application. So if there's any questions.
The questions will come in the chat. We just locked down all the audio because we got so many people on here.
Yeah.
But lots of comments. Did you want to, I think we're good on time. Did you want to cover your bonus tips?
Yes, for sure. Okay. So additional extra bonus tips. Sign up for a free developer account. There is the sandbox accounts that you can sign up for Power Apps, Microsoft 365, because when you're learning these technologies and using Copilot can kind of do some funny things, and you really don't want to do funny things where you can break stuff. And let's just say that I know it from personal experience. When you're working with your prompts, and you'll see that, like, that was a whole conversation. Those prompts probably took me an hour to develop, maybe more, so that they worked in a consistent way. So copy and paste them and keep them in, like, a Word document or OneNote so that you can just tweak them a little bit, because I will tell you that even though generative AI feels like you can throw a lot of words against a wall and get something to come back, the words actually matter quite a bit, and the location of the words matter as well. So there is a lot of playing around. Copy paste. Check the links. Copilot is generous with the links, but sometimes they don't go where you think they'll go, or it's not saying what you think it's saying, or it thinks it's saying. It's summarizing information for you, but it's using knowledge that it knows. So it's adding in context that maybe isn't there. So just check the links. And plus, if you're learning, it's great to like look at the links and read through stuff. Sometimes your conversation with Gen AI will go off the rails, and the best thing to do is just start over. Because if it's off the rails, it's off the rails. No sense getting into an argument with Copilot where it suddenly hangs up on you and doesn't want to talk to you for a week. Just start over from personal experience. And then Gen AI in these prompts, it's actually what I'd like to call kind of a viral sort of, that sounds kind of bad. I don't have any other words. A technology where it's like more people spreading it and sharing prompts actually improves everyone's ability. So the more you create a prompt and the more you share and other people are creating prompts, everyone gets better faster. Whereas this is not a technology that's learned in isolation. So it's more like you have to spread and then everyone gets better at it quickly. So here are my details if you want to find me somewhere. And I will be at Microsoft Build in the expert meetup booth talking about Power Automate and how it can save you time in your tax practice or probably pretty much any sort of business. So, and that is me.